What are we talking about today?
I don't know. What are we talking about today?
Oh,
I like your pens.
they're pencils.
They're pencils, yeah. I was just going to correct myself as soon as you corrected me.
Yeah. I think that'll work. Oh. Oh.
Yep. Nice haircut, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I did it myself. All right, so I'm back with Marcus. We're going to talk about whatever goes.
Whatever goes.
As a good host, I'm going to throw the ball in your court with no preparation whatsoever.
I'm going to make him do everything.
So, yeah, what topics do you want to talk about? You want to talk about just philosophy again, ideas? Well, actually, I know you're trying to do a video and it came out really bad.
Oh, yeah.
So, how do you feel about that?
Really mad.
How long did you work on it?
Total, dude, I probably spent over 8 hours trying to make it work the first few times that I tried. And then when I came back to it, I probably spent another 3 hours or so on it.
Oof.
Only for it to completely fail miserably. just yeah. It's a learning experience.
Yeah.
And I don't like that learning experience, but
that's one of the worst. I was working on previous videos on different software and stuff, video software, and it's I put 8 hours into it, but it's this just turned out horrible. Usually the picture quality is good and stuff, but I've never done that screen capture stuff. But I don't know.
I mean, the screen. So when you look at the raw footage, it looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. It's amazing. I'm just graphics so good.
Yeah.
But then when you have it all edited and it's all fancy and it's you're previewing it in your 1080p.
Mm-hmm.
You know, inside your actual thing. You're all right, this looks okay. And then you export it, and then it's instant potato mode activate.
What did you export it as?
I don't remember.
Because there's 20.
There's a lot. There's only a select few that it lets you export it as, but I don't remember which one I did. It was the second one from the left. That's all I remember.
Okay. I would, because I use MP4 is one I use. There's a few other ones I've tried, but that's the one I usually go with. It's usually pretty good, but I think maybe you just pick a format that's not capable with your resolution you had, and then it just had a seizure in the processing rendering stage.
It was what is you doing?
What is you doing?
What is I doing? That's the question.
We're going to upload that to YouTube, Twitch, both?
Just YouTube.
Okay. I know YouTube uses that 1080p thing. There's a 4K, but every time I upload it, or the program I have, it says upload to YouTube, 1080p.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I've been using so far. Pretty good. It's just I don't have the patience or the intelligence to actually work on videos. It's all right, just get it out. I'm done. Get out of my sight.
I give you enough of my time.
Yep.
This is all you deserve.
Yeah. It's I'm Philip Rivers and I have my 9 kids. I can only show a few of them love a day. Tomorrow's your day, Anthony. Tomorrow's your day. But today, I'm not talking to you.
Mm-hmm. It's for James.
Yep.
It's James's day.
James's day. James and Sarah.
James and Sarah, man.
Mm-hmm.
What a duo. You know?
James and Sarah?
Yeah, they're just crazy, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Just
crazy.
Just
little rascals.
Rambunctious little...
All right. So, you want to talk philosophy again? You want to talk Any ideas? Any thoughts in your mind that you find interesting that you just want to throw out there?
Any thoughts on my mind?
Put out there on the
That's a dangerous question, my friend. You don't know what's in here. What the heck is in my mind? See, now that we're talking about this, like everything's being suppressed.
Oh yeah.
You know, you ever get that where you're just like trying to think so hard about something that's like there's so many options?
It often happens with music. Like someone be like, "What kind of music do you listen to?" Oh, I listen to the one with the beat. You know, yeah, they have great stuff. Yeah. What other music do you like? I like rap music. Who do you listen to? Yeah, Lil Wayne. It's like, yeah. Whenever people talk about music, I just hit like this utter like block because I listen to like a lot of different stuff, and then I should have stuff I can talk about. When people talk about music, I'm like, I just think of like the popular bands. I don't think about bands I actually like to listen to. It's like, oh, okay, because yeah. What about you? Is there like a certain band or like musician that you can just listen to their whole album? Because there's not a lot. Like usually there's like select songs I like, and then tons of other garbage they have. At least I feel that way.
Yeah, no, there's some albums that are like that. Like some bands are just one-hit wonders.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just are.
Yeah.
And you gotta appreciate that. Some of them have like a lot of mediocre songs put together in a string that actually make a pretty good album. It really depends on the band, honestly.
Yeah, are there any bands you can like listen to their whole album or most of their songs?
Usually I listen to the whole album of like anything. The only things that I don't listen to the whole album of are select like rap albums and honestly I think that's it. It's just like those select albums because the rest of the music that I listen to is very I don't know how to explain it. It's very musical.
Wonderful words.
Alright, we're done.
Hit that one out. I listen, like, there's only a few. Like, Eminem, I can listen to all his albums. I've probably listened to every one of his songs. Any other ones? Skillet. I love Skillet. I can listen to any of their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Third Day. But other than those three, maybe, not Mumford and Sons, but I don't know. Just a lot of people Kid Cudi. I like Kid Cudi. I listen to a lot of his stuff. But maybe those 4 or 5 people. Everybody else, I don't think I've ever listened to their full album. Like I'll listen to like a few songs. Maybe Lana Del Rey as well. I like Lana Del Rey. Do you like Lana Del Rey?
I don't know who that is.
Alright, well I'll play her once we're done with this. It's really good, really good.
Okay, sure. I can't wait.
Who do you listen to? Who's your go-to? And Taylor Swift. I like Taylor Swift. I like T-Swift.
T-Swifter?
I am
T-Swifter?
I'm a T-Swifter. Definitely.
I can't say that I'm a T-Swifter.
Okay.
I can say that
in this moment, me and Marcus were never friends again. We never spoke to each other. Last time I see Marcus will be at his funeral.
Wait. We were friends?
Anywho.
Honestly, this whole time.
Anywho, it's like your go-to.
My go-tos. I listen to like I enjoy a lot of instrumental music.
Nice.
Is like when I work is most of the time when I listen to music. So I just have whatever bands have instrumental albums, I guess. Like a lot of the like rock and metal have like instrumental strings through their albums.
Do you like listening to like movie scores and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I really like the Interstellar.
Oh yeah.
Theirs is amazing.
I think some of my Interstellar's really good.
Yeah.
One that I love is The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. I love that instrumental. It's very like mellow, like sort of melancholy kind of sound. I like that one. Glory has a really good one. I think the 1984 film. It's a military one with Matthew Broderick, I believe, and Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman. It's a really good one. It's about like this black regiment attack Fort Sumter, the 84th or something like that. Really good movie, but they have a great score. I think it's Hans Zimmer does it, but he does like all of them. He did Interstellar as well, I believe.
Yeah.
He does a lot of good ones.
Yeah, he's very gifted.
Mm-hmm. Pirates of the Caribbean too. Like not the second one, but just Pirates of the Caribbean. They have good ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the ones I usually listen to. But the Assassination by Jesse James, or the Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford is probably my favorite. I listen to that all the time, especially when I'm writing or thinking. It's just very, very good. It's not like too much up and down. But then there's a lot of good ones. Wagner, the Valkyrie is another good one. If you're familiar with that, you've probably heard it. It's in tons of stuff. It's that dun da da dun, dun da da dun, and it keeps going. It's a really good one.
I'm glad it keeps going.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that'd be a really weird thing to listen to, right?
Yeah, it would. Thank you for not making this awkward, Marcus. I pour out my heart, hoping for some like kickback, but all I get is a little K. That's it. I send this paragraph of things I care about. You just respond with a K.
K.
Just, and it was like seen it at like 9:45 a.m. The K responds at like 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
You're that kind of person.
I might be. I'm actually even worse. I just leave you on red.
Yeah, I suck at responding to people. Do you know who hate that the most? I've realized. I like girls. They hate some guys too, but mostly girls. Like, cause I'll like see them at work. It's like, oh, I see this. Oh, I'll respond later. I got busy. And it's like I don't respond for like 3 days.
And they give you the death stare, and you're like,
yeah, I suck at responding.
What am I to you?
I think. What's the trash? What's the worst? Is it like Snapchat? That's the worst responding. Text.
Actually,
you getting a call? Is that another alarm?
That's another alarm.
In case you didn't get up.
Yeah. By the way, I've been up since very late yesterday. Early yesterday. Like afternoon-ish. Somewhere around there. When did I even leave? Did I even sleep? I don't even know if I slept at this point. I've been up for quite a long time. So long that I don't even know who I am. Where am I?
The drugs are wearing off. Guys, come back. Needs another dose.
I gotta turn my other ones off.
I have tons of alarms set. That's just how I...
Dude, I can't wake... I don't know what it is. Like, I just don't have... I can wake up.
Yeah.
But I just don't wake up when it comes to work. Like, that's one thing that I'm just like... I could use a couple more minutes before heading into work.
See, my schedule... Usually for work, I like get up way easier than if it's like my day off. If it's in my day off or something, I just sleep. It's like I'll like think about getting up and it's like, oh, my alarm went off, because I get home at like 5 a.m. I go to bed and usually it's like, well, I'll sleep for 5 to 6 hours. I'll get up at like 11 or 12 or something like that. But I never do. It's usually like 1:30 or 2. And then I hate myself because like, oh, the day went by. Especially now with this whole virus thing. Like, I get up at that time, it's like I get food stuff, everything's closed by the time I get into town. It's like, well, dang it.
Yeah, pretty much.
This virus thing sucks.
It does, a little bit.
Yeah.
I wish that I could be on quarantine for longer, to be entirely honest.
Be quarantined for longer?
Yes.
I low-key kind of want this to, like, really... exponentially go up to like apocalypse level just to see what happens.
There are a lot of stupid people on the planet. I don't know if I'm one of them, but you know what? At some point when the crops ain't producing, you just gotta... This is a lighter. And that's I don't know.
What
Something
are you
that needs
talking
to
about?
be burned. Huh?
What is going on?
What?
What? How did you get to a lighter?
I'm just saying like crops and like, you know, if they're bad then you burn them and then the soil is kind of like enriched again because it's got like the burnt or whatever, and then you never mind. Yeah, so anyhow.
You're a wonderful conversationalist.
I am, I could be.
You just paint a picture with words.
You know, man, I can't draw, and I'm bad at words.
I can't draw.
So I don't know what else to do.
I often wish I could draw, because like I have like cool images. Like if I could draw really good, I think making comics would be cool or something, or just like drawing imagery. You know, like paint. I could just paint whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I can't. I can barely draw a stick figure. I'm awful. Awful. What's a skill you wish you could have that you don't have? I'm sure it's a short list.
A skill I wish I could have that I do not have.
Mm-hmm.
A skill I wish I had that I don't have.
Or you're gonna pull like a Ricky Bobby. Listen, I'm the best there is. When I wake up, I piss excellence.
I piss excellence. If you ain't first, you're last.
If you ain't first, you're last, kids. If you ain't first, you're last.
It's a fact, actually.
That's
a factual statement.
Mm-hmm.
By a guy who drives in circles for a living.
Yes.
But something that I wish I had, probably, and it's something that I've been working on, I've been trying to work on, is like, probably commitment over like certain aspects of my life. For example, we put things off. It can be anything. Like you come home and there's dishes that you didn't do the day before, you know, and you're just like, I'll do it this weekend. And then you get to this weekend and you're like, but dude, I could relax. And then you just relax all weekend. And, you know what I mean? Like you can't commit to that. That would be something that I would like to have, like just innate. But that's something that you gotta work on.
Yeah, I think I do have that, but usually right now my main thing where I'm just like not committed to is like just watching like lecture series, because I want to finish this information theory one, and I have like 3 videos to go, so about 3 hours left, and it's like I want to finish it, so you know I'm done with it. But yeah, it's like I think that's my main one, because like I'm always interested in stuff, so like I'll like look into a subject and like, oh, I'm gonna spend more time doing this, and then it's like, oh, I still need to finish this, but I haven't, and it's like, dang it. I think that's the one thing. Like, yeah, cleaning my room, or like, you know, doing the dishes or like whatever, or like washing the car, or like something like that is always there, but I always eventually get to it. Like when it's like bad, it's like, all right, I'll just do this real quick, but I never put much thought into it.
Do you why do you think that is? Do you think it's because like you don't have something after that? Like you don't have something lined up after that, and you just start like, you're like, yeah, but if I finish it, then what's gonna happen? Is the world gonna end? Is the sun gonna explode? Or like,
no.
Or do you think it's more of a just being lazy?
I think just being lazy. I don't think there's anything like, once I get this done. But usually if I have to like get things done, I usually try to. Unless it's like anything like on the internet I have to sign up for or something like that. Like through school, if I had to like do like FAFSA or anything like that, I hated that. I hate online things. Most things in like, if it's like in the world, like if I have to like clean this place or whatever, I'll do it when I do it. Like if it needs it, I'll do it. But if it's like online stuff, forget it. I hate online. It's like, oh, you gotta sign up for this healthcare thing. Nah. I hate internet stuff. I hate signing like up for things. It's like so much work. It's like, why?
Sometimes it is, yeah.
Why don't I just go in? Especially if you're like looking for jobs. I hate that you like can't go in and like fill out a resume and do it all there. It's like, oh, go online and do it. I'm like, I hate online. I'm right here. Just talk to me, please. Please.
Well, dude, that's why we can do this, because this is extremely like helpful since we're on the subject of like jobs and stuff. Walking into, I remember I wanted to get a job at Planet Fitness. The same exact thing happened. I went in there and I was like, I like the manager was right there, and I was like, can I have an application? And he's like, you gotta do it online. And I'm like, but what?
Right here.
Yeah. So you go on, it's painstakingly annoying trying to like get the everything to work, and sometimes your document doesn't even work, and all to go back to the same exact spot that you were at. Yeah. So one thing I think that's super helpful is just knowing the people that are there that you want to work with. Get your foot in the door, and don't even ask for an application till after the fact. That's kind of how I got my job, the one that I have now. I just knew people.
I think that's like the main thing. Like there was a great article, like one of the big reasons to go to like Yale, Harvard, or Oxford is not like the education you get, because like information's information. Like there are teachers who know a lot more and stuff like that, but you can basically learn that yourself. But the big benefit of going to those schools is the acquaintances you meet, not friends, because a lot of times, your friends, do they help you like find jobs and stuff like that? But usually it's an acquaintance, like somebody you know, where it's like you don't see them on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis. Like that's where a lot of like jobs come out through and stuff like that. Like I mean, in the car dealership, I worked with the guy from Family Video for like 6 months, and then it was like a year later, he's like, hey, you should think about doing car sales, and then I go there. So I think a lot of that is just the people you meet is like the main thing. So that's one reason of like going to like a big college or something like that, or a popular one, or Ivy League college, is like not so much the information you learn, but rather the people you meet, because that's usually how you get jobs, is through the people you meet or know. I mean, it's really rare that you end up showing up to a job where you don't know anyone, or at least someone who used to work there that knows somebody.
Yeah, it is kind of strange. It is very difficult to get a job like that too. Yeah, you'd have to have like very good interpersonal skills and a very good resume. Assuming the job's decent. Of course. Not being a janitor at some place.
Are we talking shit about janitors?
I used to be a janitor, dude.
Yeah.
You
have that aura around you.
That aura?
Yeah, you just carry that janitor aura around you.
Yeah. Maybe I do. Trash.
That's me. So yeah, I know we both we didn't talk about it last time, but Stoic philosophy. I know you're interested in that kind of stuff.
I love Stoic philosophy.
Yeah, it's stuff I like.
Yeah.
So why don't you like talk a bit about it? Then I'll like step in. But yeah,
okay.
You want to like move on to that?
Heck yeah, man. Let's do it. I'm ready.
I should be really more authoritative. All right, moving on to Stoic philosophy. Marcus, take it away.
Nice.
Nailed it.
Oh man, Stoic philosophy. I love Stoic philosophy. It's so simple, and like there isn't like a lot of the true Stoics were very like obviously they didn't care about any of the things that would normally corrupt people.
Yeah.
Right, like they were pretty in control of that. Not like entirely in control of it, but they were probably more trustworthy than anybody else. Arguably. I think like their ability to like dissect certain things and how accurate it is looking at it nowadays like from modern psychology and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and just seeing like all the relationships, like, yeah, you know, like cognitive distancing is a legitimate thing, and like like all these different little things that they have, all these tricks that they developed over the years, and now we're just getting to the point where we understand why it works.
Yeah. Like the big thing I like about it is just like the world happens, you know, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. Like so many people, it's like, okay, you know, it's like they worry about so much stuff. Like, oh, I worry about if I'm not going to pay my bills. I worry about, you know, am I going to pick the right college? Am I going to pick the right person? Am I going to pick the right job? Am I going to pick the right career? Am I going to pick the right town? And stuff like that, where I think more of a stoic way of looking about it is like, life's going to happen. You're just going to have to like put up with what happens. Like, yeah, you can minimize like bad things happening to you. The fact that me and you are not in someone's apartment doing heroin is going to be a better outcome, hopefully, than what we're doing now. But we don't know. I mean, you know, you could get in your car, drive, and then get in a car accident. If you were never here, you would have never gotten in that car accident. If you never had met me, you'd never be in the situation and gotten that car accident. If you never went to UW Fond du Lac, you'd have never met me, you'd never come here, and you'd never gotten in that car accident. So I think a lot of times you really can't tell what decisions are going to be good or bad. I think you can like narrow it down, but like with a lot of the like harder ones, like do I do this or do I do that, as long as it's not a direct like bad effect, you know. So I think that's one thing I really like about Stoic philosophy is like just sort of like, you know, don't really think too much about like how like important you are. Like I may, you know, worship my like let's say good looks. Someone might worship their good looks, but eventually you're gonna get old and you're gonna die a million deaths before, you know, they finally plant you, because you're gonna get old. It's like the one thing, I put all my eggs in this one basket of beauty and stuff like that, and then that's gonna, you know, break. Or, you know, you'll put in like, hey, you know, I want money, but you're never gonna have enough. Like there's a lot of people like, oh, I'm gonna be happy once I get a new car. I'm gonna be happy once I get that big house. I'm gonna be happy once I'm making 6 figures, you know, something like that. But, you know, everyone, you know, is making pretty good money. I mean, we're in the US, you know, we have a roof over our head, we have vehicles, we have jobs, you know, it's better than most people. We have money. I mean, look, the stuff we basically have now, like the internet, if you go back like 400, 500 years, it's like, hey, I have this piece of technology. You can connect to anyone, learn basically anything. All of human knowledge is on
Literally
that.
just in that one thing.
Yeah, people would have wars over that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like kings back then, that would be their main goal is like, I need that. I'm going to run a crusade to get that thing. But everyone has it, you know. Yeah. So it really is comparative. Have you heard of the Diderot effect? Or the Diderot?
The what?
The Diderot effect. So he was, I think he was a French philosopher. He ended up like acquiring some wealth, and he decided to basically up his attire and stuff like that. So he bought more expensive things, but not everything he had was at the snuff or like the level of expense than the stuff he bought. So he kept trying to buy more and more things, and it sort of goes into like signaling theory. Like a lot of people want to show off their wealth. It's like, hey, I'm wealthy, I'm going to do this, and stuff like that. And I remember about, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, there was this popular thing where it was just basically like photo shoot of like just like a jet plane, but it was like just like a chair and like a window and stuff. And people would like take pictures. They'd go to this place, take pictures like, oh yeah, I'm going to Hawaii or I'm going on vacation, because that's what's seen as, you know, sort of this signal that I am important. I'm somebody who has wealth. You know, I'm somebody who's cultured and I travel. So even though I'm not traveling, I might as well give the appearance that I am. And I think that's a very sick thing that bothers me. But yeah, what do you think?
I think I agree with that. I think that the internet is a wonderful thing, and I think that it's very like temperaments then are different. Like they have a different impact now than they did then, because like you could know, like let's say you lived in a town, right? Like you could be known by the town by, I don't know, There is a very like set hierarchy like within a town, within a small group that you had, right?
Yeah.
With the internet, you basically like, I mean, you can be in any group anywhere at any time and be whatever kind of person that you want.
Yeah.
So like your natural want to like let's say that you base your life off of your appearance, like you were giving an example for, right? Like you can become a model, and if you're comparing then to now, you'd have way more impact now here, and you're much more likely to like how do I put this? It makes so much sense in my small little brain, but like
I'm trying to think things to help you, but I'm not sure what you're going for.
It's all right.
Oh,
So I'm gonna try and maybe figure this out through pen and paper or pencil and paper in this specific instance.
Okay.
So the internet acts like a microphone, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean by that? Your personality is your personality.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk normally.
Yeah.
This would have been way back then. The microphone gives you the ability to like really project outward. So if you said something that was stupid, not everybody might have heard it. But if you say something stupid now, you bet you're sweet.
But I partially agree and I partially disagree. I think there is, because there's so many people, you know, let's say that use internet and social media, that it kind of goes back to where it was back then. There are going to be always outliers. You know, there's going to be those Salem witch hunts and stuff like that, and which we kind of have now, where it's like so many people share so many things, but we decide to pick on certain people. Like, do you remember that one lady who was like going to Africa, and she's like, I'm going to Africa, I hope I don't get AIDS. Remember that joke? And she like landed, she like got arrested, lost her job and stuff like that because of a tweet. This is a while back. But I think there's...
I don't remember it.
I forgot what I was watching. But it was basically discussing how sort of public shaming back then was a lot, because they had public shaming. You know, you would go, they'd like take you out in the square of your local town and like shame you. But that's in front of people like you actually know, you see day to day, and they know the better sides of you. But with the internet, you like publicly shame people you see that you don't know. And there is that sort of step back where you do see someone like on social media, but you only see like parts of them. You don't know them that well, and there is that distancing that doesn't make it 100% like sort of real. You know, like if you took like two people in a Facebook thread that were arguing and you sat them down in a room, I'm sure they wouldn't argue as much. You know, I feel
they
like
wouldn't argue in the same fashion.
Yeah, I feel like everything is amplified. You know, I think that's a big problem with like social media is like, you know, I think what they should do is they should have like a timer, like, because like the worst thing when you hear about an atrocity or an event is you get very emotional and you're gonna throw out, you know, something that you might regret. There's a great quote I heard that you will give your greatest speech when you're angry. You'll give your greatest speech that you regret. You know, and a lot of times when you see something happen, you get really upset and you tweet something out. You might be like, okay, I really didn't think that through. You know, I think there should be like a 15-minute timer or something like that. Like you know, send a tweet and it takes time to actually get sent out, or it's locked for a while. Because there's a lot of times like, you know, someone might say something to me. I'd be like, oh, that's a very stupid thing to say. But after more thought, I'm like, oh, that's actually very intelligent. Or I might think that this one person is really rude and insensitive. And then I think about it more, I'm like, okay, they're actually pretty caring. And I think a lot of times the first feeling you get towards something isn't always right, you know? Yeah. What you writing down?
Just stuff. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
Just kidding. No, kind of like off of what you're saying. Yeah, it would be nice for that to happen. The issue is that if you do that, it infringes upon people's freedoms, like to actually choose whether or not to say those hurtful things, or to get into that argument, or like this or that, right? Like, I guess what I was trying to get at is the internet gives you the ability to do whatever you want, but it does so in such a fashion that it's when they say the world's at your fingertips, like it literally is. And that's what I was trying to get at, is that you can either do something, let's say, productive, or you can do something very bad and not productive. So it gives you both of those choices.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Do I spend all my time looking at like cat photos and stuff, or do I find this very interesting article on an interesting topic? I think that's a big one, because I know I spend a lot of my time, I do watch a lot of sports and stuff like that in gameplays, but there are also a lot of things I like to watch, like college professors that I watch their lecture courses, Walter Lewin, Paul Bloom, stuff like that, Richard Taylor, all those kind of people I find interesting. But yeah, there is that sort of very, big schism where it is like, oh, it's so easy to just watch this mind-numbing stuff. That's enjoyable, It's sort of, I believe in everything in moderation, including moderation. Is it bad to watch, a rage out video, or something like that? No, but if that's all you do, is it bad to watch like one conspiracy video? No, it can be interesting, like, oh, okay, that's an interesting way. But if that's all you do all the time, you don't know actual science, that's not good either. But, I think there are two parts of it, sort of like that, the golden mean or something like that. Where, is it the golden mean? Isn't that what it is?
I have no idea, dude. It sounds about right.
Okay,
that sounds like something.
So the golden mean, if that's the right wording for it, is the idea that you really want to be sort of in the middle. You don't want to be.
It's the ideal moderation.
Yeah, you don't want to be, too comedic, but yet you don't want to be too serious. You want to be a good mix of both. You want to be right in the middle.
Yeah.
You don't want to be too too charging the battlefield. You don't want to be too reserved. You want to be right in the middle. The golden mean. I forgot what philosopher came up with it, but that's always been one I've liked.
I would actually argue with that.
You would?
I would argue with that, yes.
Okay.
And here's my argument against that. I think that you should be both. Or actually, no, all three. I think you should be all three.
Yeah.
Though, leaning towards your side more, you should be, in most cases, in the middle of the track.
Well, of course, there's going to be situations when you have to be one or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you don't, so if you're naturally a head first, I'm just going to headbutt this wall until it falls over kind of thing. Versus I'm just going to sit here and wait until it decays, and then like passive kind of. If you're one or the other, you get too intense, and you lose the what's the word for that? I want to say ability, but it's not. It's you lose. It's not functionality either. You're not as useful as you could be. In terms of a society or a group, if we're thinking very primal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where nowadays it's all about experts. This one field is your life.
I also have a problem with that, but yeah.
Yeah.
And experts is actually a really new thing. Throughout human history, there wasn't really experts. It's here's an idea, we're going to throw out. It doesn't matter where the idea came. We're just going to throw out the idea, and we're going to debate on if we think it's right or wrong. But now it's we have this expert in a field and stuff like that. Which, if you look at Adam Smith, one of the big ways that industrial society came about is the specialization of labor. And plus, having factory lines where it's like one person can only make about 10 pins an hour, where if you have 10 people making pins, they can make like 40,000 pins if you work in. So that's a big one. But I think that also the specialization, you do need people who are very specialized, but then you hit the problem to the man with a hammer, every problem's a nail. And I think when you get very specialized and you just know specific in one topic, you know everything about that. But I think there's also problems that can arise because you just know that one thing where you don't have better knowledge of other things. I think you do need those people.
Right.
But
it's moderation.
Yeah. But yeah,
you should partake in a little bit of everything and like have that flexibility.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is that the word you're
looking for? What a language we have.
Yeah.
Flexibility. I think that's something that people need to work on a lot, both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
That's not something that's taught though.
I think it also goes into like disc theory of personality. Like certain people like having a set schedule, a set thing. Like I do this, and this.
Sure.
Where I'm not that way. I love having change. I love like, let me see if I can actually, that's why I like learning new topics or something like that. It's like, I don't know anything about this. Let me see if I can actually find understanding in it or something like that, or if I can actually learn about it. But a lot of people don't share that. So I guess if you are trying to make a right society, you should know like, hey, there's certain people who just want to follow orders step by step by step. I do this, and this, and then I'm done. Where some people are not like that. So I think you have to look at other individuals as well. I wish I had more information. I think one of those things I have has disc theory stuff in it, but maybe it's at home. But
one of the many books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Piled over there.
I also have a huge pet peeve of like people who write in like my like folders and stuff like that, or my like notepads.
Who would write in your own like?
I have a friend who he'll write down mathematical equations in stuff, and I'm like, I got him his own notebook, and he still doesn't use it. He uses mine. He'll go into one of mine. There's one time he took one of mine. He's like, wow, all these pages are filled. I can't write in them. I'm like, yes, don't.
That's the point.
It's literally like, I don't know why, but it upsets me so much. Like even thinking about it, if I had my Fitbit on, my heart rate would be going through the roof right now. Just
blood pressure.
I don't know what it is, but it just irritates me. Like this is my book of quotes. That's what it is. That one right there. Yeah. Please don't write in it. All right, but yeah, that's one of my pet peeves. I'm not perfect, but
it's okay.
Yeah.
We're humans.
We definitely are.
That's a thing. That's another thing that I think Stoics really do a good job on, is just like realizing that along the lines of like, you can only control what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
You're not perfect. You have lapses in your judgment. You have lapses in like your consistencies. It happens. Yeah. I think that's really neat. Like a lot of I know like a lot of religions, and like there's a lot of even just ways of life, like cultures, people are very strict. Like, do not do this.
Mm-hmm.
Do this very specifically. Do this, or no, don't do this. There isn't like it's okay if that happens every once in a while. It's whatever, but...
Yeah, are you familiar with, yeah.
This is what you want to do.
This is what's never working. But to go on to it, Durkheim, who was a sociologist, philosopher, talked about the sacred and the profane, and how that's always around. And a lot of people think about it with religion standpoint, but we often have these sort of separate things where this is sacred and that's profane. It's like, so, you're at the toilet and you're out of toilet paper. It's like, but, there's an American flag. And you think, that's awful. Or you might be like, the dog got hit by a car. What's for dinner? And stuff of that nature. And then there's always those things that pop up in society, the sacred or the profane. And, you know, sort of now that the sacred is the individual, like no matter what this individual wants to do, that is sacred. And profane is anything you want to restrict that person to do. And you can often break it up, like back in religion as well. It's like certain days you can't eat a certain food or something like that. There's always, you know, sacred places and stuff like that. So there's sort of, we have this sort of religious thought that we've like translated over into society. Durkheim kind of talks about that. So we still have that same sort of dynamic going on where we sort of, like, I mean, look, the government, we sort of like took a lot of religious ideas of this all-knowing, all-powerful being, and a lot of people sort of take that and put it onto the government and stuff like that.
What do you mean?
Like, you know, like all-knowing, stuff like that, like, they, you know, they, CIA and stuff like that, like they research you and stuff of that nature, all-powerful, like the military's gonna take all my stuff. It's sort of like conspiracy theory. People take sort of ideas of, you know, religious ideas like all-knowing God and stuff like that and put it onto sort of man-made systems that are more of like, you know, religious-wise. But, yeah.
I'm trying to...
I'm
a little bit stuck, like do you mean like by their foundations, like how they're built, or do you mean just people relate that because they see like this is the top of the hierarchy, therefore that means,
well, not so much hierarchy, just like the deity, yeah, like, you know, a lot of people who used to look at religion used to be the big thing in society, you know, used to be like sort of the government in a way, but now a lot of people took, instead of like this God or whatever, they put like, oh, you know, the government has this, is all-knowing, all-powerful, stuff like that. But
I think it's just because of the way that people just view how they're taken care of.
Yeah.
Because they can see a direct correlation between like the government and them being taken care of versus like some kind of a being they literally cannot understand.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. People think too simply about it, or they don't think simply enough about that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Like, one of my big things is, like, everyone thinks they're being spied on. It's like, okay. And they always think there's this, like, these super organizations, like, okay, well, everyone talks. Like, you really think there's, like, this powerful group of people, like, controlling the world? Like, someone would talk about it. Yeah. And then they're always like, oh, well, the government's going to take our guns and stuff like that. I'm like, I know people like in the government. I know people in the military. It's like,
dude, even...
You're going to, like, what do you think happens? And there's this huge, you know, break off of, like, you know, reality and stuff like that. Because I think when you don't know something, you really throw in a lot of different ideas of, like, what it is. But when you're in that group or in that place, it's like, oh, this is actually a lot different than what I thought it would be. Yeah. I'm just rambling. Take it away, man.
Hey, man, no, that's good. We're doing
just throwing words back and forth.
Hey, man, that's all good. Yeah, it's super sad that, like, that's one thing that I wish maybe I could do. Like, I know that there's such a need for, like, philosophical ideas to be, like, given to kids in schools. And I really wish that we could actually take that seriously. Like
Philosopher Kings and stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, who do you go to when you are sick?
Doctor.
Right. Why? Why do you go to a doctor and not, like, I don't know, some like a dentist? Like, why do you do that? You know, well, you don't do that because the doctor is trained. Like, he knows, he has shown through his patients that he can treat people, and he's then taught that, and now other people can do that. So why do we teach, like, it seems like through all those years of school, they focused too much on bringing up the fundamentals, and they made things. This goes back to the path thing that we were talking about, like stay in the middle or like go on either side. If we're in a time of experts, we should have people who are focusing on like going to one side instead of just everybody going down the middle, right?
Like everybody learning the same stuff, or like
like it's standardized.
Yeah,
everything is standardized.
Yeah, I haven't, but yeah.
Yeah, see, like, you know what I mean?
I mean, standardization, I think, is a big problem, especially with schools. And this goes into a thing called asymmetric information. So asymmetric information is basically the idea of, sort of goes into signaling theory as well, is how do you signal characteristics of yourself in such a way that is not easily manipulated or faked by others. This can go into dating, job interviews, all kinds of stuff. So let's say, in education, the guy who, I forgot who it was, he ended up winning a Nobel with a few stuff. Claude, I can't remember his name, but he was talking about basically how we're going to get to the point where you need a degree to do this very simple task. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's say back then, out of 10 people, one of them went to college. Who do you hire? Well, I'm going to probably hire the person from college, out of these other 10 people. Depending, let's just say everything else is even, but one person has college. Mm-hmm. I'm going to hire that person because they have a standout thing. But let's say now 10 people go to college and you have the same job. It's like, who are you going to hire? Well, everyone has a degree now, so that's no longer a good signal for a thing. Now, yes, everyone does get smarter with education. That's a good thing. Everyone should be smart. We should try to educate our population. But if everybody does the same education, does the same thing, it's no longer a signal for who is better. Who should I hire? You go to other certain characteristics. And you have to find a characteristic in such a way that is not easily faked by others. Let's say I'm going on a date. How do I could easily on a date signal some of my best characteristics or fake some good characteristics. But what are scenarios that are hard to fake? I think one way, before I would marry anyone, it's like, hey, we should go take a trip somewhere. Because trips never work out the way you think. You kind of want to see the person
Ain't that the truth?
in tough situations to see how they actually handle it. Because if everything's like really good, mm-hmm. It's like, okay, anyone can fake that. But to see who someone truly is in tough situations is more important than I think they are normally. Because normal, when everything's going good, everyone's going to be good. Mm-hmm. But when things go bad, it's like, okay, what's going to happen now? That's another big problem with finding cops. People might act certain ways, but once you give them, authority and power,
right,
it can change it. It can bring out who they truly are.
Yep.
One of the great quotes is to see who somebody truly is, give them money and give them power.
Correct.
And you can see who they are. Mm-hmm. And it's sometimes, you'll just be following the rules because, that's what you have to do. But once you get this sort of authority and power, it's like, I'm going to use this. And I think that's a lot of reasons why there's a lot of abuse in relationships or family dynamics can go really bad because somebody might I got power now over this other person or over these kids. I'm going to use it the way I want to use it. Mm. So that sort of goes into asymmetric information. But yeah.
Mm. Well, that's exactly the reason why. That's exactly the reason why philosophy and specifically Stoic philosophy needs to be put into the school system, because there should be like some kind of monk program almost where monks go through training in order to be a certain way. Because when you think of a monk, you're like, okay, that dude's probably really centered and he's balanced internally, right?
Yeah.
You get out here and these kids who are raging with hormones are they're just going nuts and they don't know how to control it. And that's That's not good. It's not. It wouldn't solve the problem because it puts a lot of like responsibility on the individual. Not everybody's born to be like a king.
Yeah.
You know, some people are born to be workers. Some people are born to be managers. If you're using born.
Well, I think
loosely,
everyone's born to be like the king of their own mind, but.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we all have power in a certain sense. It's just like. That's another thing that's really cool. There's so many cool things, dude.
Okay. Alright, go off, man. Go off. Just ramble.
Just ramble. Alright. You asked for it.
10 minutes later, please stop. That Jack Nicholson meme where he's like, you know what I'm talking about? He's got like the glasses on. He's like on the court side of like a basketball game. He's like, it's me in 10 minutes, but carry on.
Could be. Cannot confirm or deny. What was I talking about? We were talking about the importance of it. How your mind. Oh yes. Okay. So how you develop. It is well known, as we discussed last time, that how you are developed is very, very important. It's a very important factor in terms of like future success. So if we go back to our example today about like being one side over the other side versus being in the middle and having things standardized.
Yeah.
If you start veering off into your specification, into the thing that you are going to get specific about, like you would be able to go much, much farther the earlier you started, assuming that you had like a very good foundation, right? I really want to compare it to like hiking up a hill, because you can make more distance if you start earlier than if you just, I don't know, waited, you walked around like the base and then you started going up the steep end. Mm-hmm. Because it's a closer like incline, let's say.
Yeah.
So the person who's going up to the same point, they take the long route, but it's more steady. They're not going to get winded, and they're not like they have. It's a very steady, like, yeah, okay, I can manage this pace. Versus the person who's going and suddenly is like, oh god, I got to go like all the way up there, and they're just like, they're gassed like the first few steps because it's a freaking mountain.
Yeah.
Like, so like that. I don't know if that's a very clear picture. It's not the best descriptive thing I've ever said, but I hope that worked.
So, what were you going for?
So, okay. Good question. Man, I thought you were supposed to keep track of this. I'm tired. So, let's see. Backtracking a little bit.
Okay,
so yeah. Okay. When we're talking about schools, and like being standardized versus being specialized,
individualized, yeah.
Like specialized people, if they start earlier, they're gonna go farther and be able to continue past, like, let's say the 10,000 hours is that point on the mountain, right? Like, that's the point of mastery.
Yeah.
This is the 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
So, if somebody's not winded and they can keep going at a steady pace, even if the terrain gets harder, they can still manage it. because they had that sturdy like foundation to say, okay, I have this planned out. It's all like it's calculated. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. My phone's blowing up.
Yeah, it is blowing up, man.
I think my big thing.
Shut it off.
Yeah, I think my big thing with standardization, and also with education in itself, is I think we teach people like knowing something instead of like understanding. Like people, I know I was talking to one of my professors. She ended up like doing a calculus class, and she didn't know what she was doing, but she got straight A's because that's just how she was. But she didn't understand why certain mathematical things work the way they did.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, especially in school, they sort of just go through like, if I do this, this, and this, I get the right answer, rather than knowing, oh, I get this, this, and this because of this.
Right.
And I think it's that deeper logic that's often harder to find, where it's very easy, I think, or it's easier to like sort of fake knowing something. You know, it's like sort of when people just repeat like quotes they've heard often and they don't understand like where it came from. They may understand that thing in and of itself with the words of it, but they don't understand the deeper lying things and why it's true. And I think that's often a lot harder. Like everybody learns like a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and they don't understand the deeper understandings of it. They might know, oh, because I do this, this, and this. Like I know calculus, I know the symbolic changes, but I don't know why the derivative works the way it does, or integrals work the way they do. I know mathematical symbols and the way to change and the way to get the right answer, but I don't know why it works. You know, I don't know why this certain equation works. I can use the equation, stuff like that, but I don't know why the deeper, you know, knowledge of a system. And I think that's often very hard to actually know if someone knows.
Yeah, see, I mean, you're basically like, you're basically describing understanding versus memorization.
Yeah.
We preach memorization more than we preach understanding, which is not, it's also not a Stoic thing. Like, understanding is like the whole thing.
Yeah.
You have to understand in order to like, even other cultures understand that. Like,
but how do you know when someone understands is the thing?
Because they act on it.
Depending on what it is, but I think it's often hard to actually see or even know if someone knows what they're talking about. You know, I think that's a very hard thing because it comes off the same as somebody who just memorizes it, and it's like, what's going on here? And I think it's very hard. Like, I think if you ran them through a bunch of tests, yeah, you'll figure it out. You know,
I think the best way to maybe vet that out, like in a vetting process kind of thing, is to like give them a problem, let them fail it, and then see how they like turn that around. And then if they use that to teach it to other people versus like just saying like internally like, oh yeah, that's it. And they don't actually like the cogs don't all turn.
Do you know what that's called?
I don't know what that's called.
The Feynman technique. Do you know something well enough to teach somebody about it? Because often when you teach somebody, they ask questions like, "Oh, what if I do this?" But if somebody who just knows the symbolic steps, be like, "I don't know why. That's just what you do." Or somebody with deeper knowledge is like, "Well, the reason you do that is because of," and they know more about it, the deeper knowledge of it. Neil deGrasse Tyson has this really good thing. I think he's giving a speech at some college or something, and he's talking about, let's say, you know, you're in a job interview, and one of the people asks, like, how tall is the tallest point on this building? And the guy's like, well, actually, you know, I majored in architecture. I learned the highest points of, you know, the top 50 highest points of this, like, town. I know exactly that's 225 feet. Wow, he got it right. Somebody else comes in for the interview, and he's asked that question. You know how tall this building is? Oh, I don't know, but let me be back. I'll figure it out. So what he does is he go out, he knows his height, he measures his shadow, he measures the height from there, he does, you know, cross multiplication, figures it out. I was like, oh, it's this and some change, you know, it's like, you know, 215 to like 30 feet or something like that. he didn't get the right, he got around the right answer. Now, who would you hire? Well, I would rather hire the guy who didn't know it, but he ended up figuring it out. Because in the future, we're going to have to figure things out that we don't know. We're going to have to know the underlying sort of way of figuring the world out. Also, one big problem with the test, let's say you're trying to spell cat. Somebody spells it C-A-T. Well, that's right. Somebody else spells it with, cat with a K, K-A-T. That's wrong. But then another person spells cat with like a W3Y. That's wrong. That's just as wrong as the K spelling of cat, even though it shouldn't be, because it's way off. Where the K, you could say, is better spelling. So that's another problem I have. But yeah.
Yeah. I definitely understand that. There's, like, that's something I never understood about the point system that we have, is that the point system is based off of, like, right or wrong answers. So, like your statistics are like this. You got this many right. Not like he was like this close to getting. You good?
No, nothing.
No. Like he was not quite there, but he was close enough in terms of, like, he would get a certain percentage. You know. He more likely to get the answer right in these, like, specific scenarios.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's not very much variability. It's like go or no go.
Yeah.
Yes or no. Pass or don't pass.
There's a great quote: "Judge a man not by his answers, but by his questions." Malcolm Gladwell also has a great part series in his revisionist history. And he talks about taking law exams and stuff like that. And he's talking about how a lot of times people who do really good in their field in law are actually pretty slow at it. Like, some people are hares. They're fast. You know, they can take this huge test that's timed and they can go really, really quick. And he was talking to some people who, like, research it. Like, the main thing we want you to do is, like, skim it. We don't want you to understand it. We just want you to, like, get the right answers and stuff like that. And so a lot of people who fail at these tests, or who aren't the best, usually are the best in their field. Rudy Giuliani or something, I think, was giving a speech and stuff like that, and it was in Malcolm Gladwell's thing, and he was talking about he would only take people from Harvard, Yale, Oxford, because he can't afford, a miss. But his best person that worked for him came from some very small school and was he was like a high school teacher for a little bit or something like that, and then ended up going into law. And a lot of times it's a lot of thinking, the tortoise, like, taking an idea and just sitting on it and thinking about it. But education is made for, like, the hares. Like, how good are you at doing this test in this amount of time? Yeah, you can memorize, get the right answers. Like, I would just, like, memorize, like, this, and I'll memorize that, but once I'm done with the test, it just leaves. You don't hold on to any deeper knowledge of it. You just sort of know it in that moment, but the big thing is you have to hold on to it. Like, you can learn something once. Remembering it is the hard part. Because, there's tons of times you'll have a class that's like, oh, what was this class about? Oh, this, and this, but you don't know as much as you should. Because I've always liked learning by myself. I've always would self-educate myself on a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to say, like, I know everything about this, because I don't. I like learning about it and stuff of that nature. But yeah, so I think that's another interesting thing.
Yeah, I think the school system is meant to be, like, for factories.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know. Your employment is technically factory work, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's so simple.
Like, it's simple, but it's very, like, speed based. At least mine definitely is. Like, it's rate based. Like, you have to get this certain amount of things done in this fashion. They have to be this quality. Like, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I'm more of the person who, like, I'm all for our modern day, things that we have. It's great that we have all these great things.
I think it also matters in the field of where it is. Like in factory, like all we do. So like at my job, there's a thing called split case, oddball, A line, B line, C line, and D line. And we'll have a total of like 10,000 cases of alcohol. Once we're done with those cases, we're done for the day. What do you do at your job? Like how does it work?
How does it work?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just given a machine, and parts come to you, and you have to get a certain amount of parts through, and sometimes the orders are open, sometimes the orders are very specific with the number. You just do whatever it tells you, and
what kind of like
go based off of the rate.
Parts and rate? What do you mean by that?
So like we have a ton of different machines. We're kind of a third party vendor. We make parts for all kinds of different companies.
So you're given like a stock number and you have to find this item, or do you work in like a very small area?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends on which part you're making. We make parts that are like very large. We like bigger than me. We make parts that are like literally this big. I had to put them on racks once. It was a nightmare. But anyways, not my point. You get an order. Let's say it's for like 1,000 pieces. Your rate is like maybe 100 an hour, right? So you should get them done within like a single day with all the shifts easily.
Yeah.
Easily, right?
Yeah.
If you don't make that, then you're reprimanded, and like you're just like, you can't do that. You have to make this many parts, because this is what it says. This is what the paper says. Mm-hmm. So that the paper's law.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, they can be super shitty parts.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Send them.
As long as it's done, just send it.
Sometimes.
Oh.
There's variability in it. Our factory is very keen on like making sure the product is well made and it doesn't have any defects on it, and we inspect it at each point in like each job inspects it.
Yeah.
We're supposed to inspect it.
Yeah.
Especially the packing. When they actually put it in and are sending it to the company, they're very like, it's either good or we need to throw it out, even though it's gotten this far.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. I enjoy the fact that we, like, as a group of people, can make something like that, and so quickly too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just don't. I think there's too much hype in it. Like, people don't actually take time to do things well. There are companies that do, and they make a ton of money because it's like, it's handcrafted, it's perfected, it's like, it's these people's lives.
Yeah.
That's something that I think we need. I don't think we need it, but it would be nice for me at least to see.
I think that's another problem, is especially with education, is you give people these very interesting topics, these very interesting things, and you don't spend enough time on it. Mm-hmm. Like, you're supposed to take like 5 or 6 classes every semester. Mm-hmm. I think to actually understand, like to actually get a good understanding, the max you could do is 2.
Yeah.
Like, usually, like when I learn something, I will spend a month just doing that one thing.
Yeah.
Like, information theory is one I've been on lately. It's been at least 3 months I've been not fully on it, but there's at least 2 weeks where I had to like watch just tons of lectures and stuff on information theory, Claude Shannon, like bits, stuff like that. How do you take like any information like the English language and put it into like computer software, ones and zeros. How do you make a perfect system? Coding, stuff like that. Locks, like, you know, how do you make a really good like key for like a system, like going into your phone, how many ways are there to like, you know, put in a 4 number, thing of that nature. Goes into all that kind of stuff, machine learning, and I've been interested in that, but I think that's the way you have to do it. You know, I've always like broken it up, and the one thing I hated about school is like, you know, I spend time learning this, and then I go complete this subject, this, and this. I don't think they care as much about you fully knowing what's going on, rather than just get it through it, and then just keep going. Because there's a lot of times people will take classes, and I try not to have it, but there's probably stuff I've been in. Like I had a biological anthropology class, and there's like a few things I learned in it, but it's like I really didn't learn as much as I could. It was more just like, let's just get through with this. Where I think if you actually wanted someone to learn something, you have to like spend a lot more time to actually learn it. Where it's more of this thin veneer of like, oh yeah, I did this, and this. How much of that do you actually know? Yeah, not much.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Information kind of like fades after a while.
Yeah.
Even like short term, just kind of like.
And that's another big problem is, you know, because companies, they have to make money. They want to make money. And, you know, some companies are good. And this is sort of goes into like, so one of the best things to have in your life is to be patient. But everybody wants things now. They're very hedonistic. I want this now, and now. Where the smart way, especially for the future, is like, hey, we're going to hold back like all the, like, you know, everyone's like, I want this all now. It's very hedonistic now, where back then you're planning, you know, in ancient, like, let's say like World War I, World War II, after that, you're planning ahead. It's like, this is pretty bad. Let's try to make the future better.
Yeah, right.
And stuff of that nature. And with the business you were talking about, it's like, yes, we have to get all these products out. We could spend more time working on the actual quality of them, but then you sort of have like the quality versus quantity. You want them both to be high, but that's not going to happen. There's going to be a certain area you fall into.
Right.
But yeah. And I think bottom line is like one of those things. And it's also like you get in like these sort of cycles of this is how we do it, or we're not going to change, because everyone's afraid of change. It's like, and that's another big problem is like, and nobody does like different research. Like doing experiments is always good, but not a lot of companies do experiments. They don't change. Like, we're going to change this way of going about how we do something. It probably won't work. It'll probably be worse, where it's going to take 3 hours longer to get the same amount of stuff done. You know, so that was a fail. How dare we try to do something new and we go back on the same path? Where other businesses, you know, like Apple and stuff like that, like they change something and it doesn't work, and it goes down, and then they change it again and it goes up. So change is a big thing, but yet change is very dangerous. It's sort of like a risk over reward thing, and a lot of companies aren't willing to do the sort of risk or experiments unless they're super huge and they can, you know, it's okay if
they have the capital to.
Yeah, it's okay if the store doesn't do as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Yep. And the Stoics are very like. They say, I know especially like in Marcus's books, Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, in his meditations.
Which was like his diary or something.
Yeah, it was his diary. He was never supposed to be for anybody else. He just was like, this is to me.
I love the part in there where the summary of it's basically like, you know, wake up thinking the worst thing. Wake up thinking today that, you know,
today
I died in my sleep. Today my best friend's gonna stab me in the back. Today my country's gonna be invaded. Today I'm gonna, you know, lose a son or a daughter to an illness. And when you look at it that way, it's like most of your days are pretty good compared to that. So I think happiness and stuff is always compared to like what you compare it to. If I compare myself to this famous person who's making millions of dollars, if I compare myself to Tom Brady with a supermodel wife making millions, I'm going to feel awful. But if I compare myself to like somebody in Africa who's just trying to get by in life, just trying to find food, my life is fantastic. So it is really comparative. which I think is interesting. And I think, Marcus Aurelius did a really good job of like saying, expect the worst. If the worst doesn't happen, it's a good day, But yeah, his meditations are really good.
Yeah, they're spectacular. Like I just listen to the audiobooks like most of the time when I just get in my car.
Yeah.
Throw it on, dude. It's great. Like you can listen to those for hours and you still won't get bored.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much rich knowledge in there. But going to kind of what you were saying about changing, I remember in one of his books, I don't know if maybe it was the 10th one, he was just saying that like, why do people fear change? Like, don't you cook your meat and doesn't it like change? Like it's natural to change, and all things do. And if you're against that, then you're against like the nature and they're all about go with nature.
Yeah, I like the life
universe.
Yeah, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forward. Like I can't understand like my life that much, Like a big problem I have now is like I don't like talk about like modern problems like in politics because I feel like you really can't understand it. You must, look maybe years from now you can understand it. Like it's very easy to talk about Rome in a very logical sense. It's very easy to talk about China in their dynasties and stuff like that.
Sure.
But it's very, World War I, it's easier to talk about World War I. It's harder to talk about World War II. It's hard to talk about Vietnam. It's hard to talk about the war we're having now. It's hard to talk about stuff nowadays because everyone's emotions are all wrapped up into it. You don't see protests.
Fresh wounds.
Yeah, you don't see protests about what were the two? Oh my gosh, how do I not remember this? The plebeians and stuff like that going on nowadays, but you see protests about other things. So that's one I've always sort of liked. I like learning about history and stuff like that, and not so much talking about modern day problems because there's so many emotions wrapped up into it, and yeah, it's a tough one. But yeah, I do like his meditations. I've like read like parts of it, but I've never read the whole thing or listened to all of it.
It's free. What's even with, I don't know if I can say this is even better, but it's really weird because like those books are free. They're free.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to sign up for your email for that. Like not that kind of free. It's like you literally go onto a site and it is there and you can read everything. It is free. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I think there's another thing where it takes so much time. Like I'm amazed how many people actually like, sort of have their life philosophy based off of like just rap music or like music, and they have it as their ethos. Like Cardi B.
I can't stand people like that.
That's
the reason why we need this.
I'm glad they're trying to get understanding and philosophy out of life. Yeah, you definitely do that. But listen, there might be rappers out there that have deep wisdom. But if you're going to be quoting Cardi B as your, ethos creator, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, there's so many, I like Kierkegaard, there's so many that's the one thing philosophy is really good, and I love learning philosophy, and there's so many interesting people out there, and there's so many where you get into it like, oh, that's really wise, that's really interesting, and stuff like that, but I don't know, a lot of people don't. And even modern philosophy, there's a few good ones, I like David Foster Wallace is probably my most recent philosopher that I like. He wrote Infinite Jest and stuff like that, and he's got a lot of stuff against media and entertainment. He was asked why he doesn't have a TV. He's like, well, if I had a TV in my sick mind, I'm gonna want to see something else. I'm gonna keep flipping through channels and never find something like, oh, I'm liking the show, but there might be something better on the next channel. Or you go on Netflix and you're scrolling through Netflix, like maybe there's something else. If I keep scrolling down or over, well, maybe if I go on Hulu or maybe if I go on there, and there's just so much.
Mm.
You just kind of have to cut yourself out. But yeah, what are some other interesting quotes or ideas?
Quotes, ideas.
One
there's a lot, I guess. Do you have one?
There's a lot. There's one I know I have.
Oh, yeah, of course you have one. You got like a whole notebook filled with them.
Yeah, usually there's quite a few I've memorized, but there's one I just know is the biggest danger, that of losing oneself, can pass off in the world as quietly as if it were nothing. Every other loss, an arm, a leg, $5, a wife, etc., is bound to be noticed. I think that was an interesting one. Because that is a hard one, because there are times in life, especially like in high school and stuff like that, where you're very you don't know what you're doing. You might need help, but you're not. Especially I don't ask for help at all. That's one of my big things.
Prideful. Hey man, I'm the same way. It's all good.
It really is I hate asking for help. It's I would rather fail 100 times than ask for help. On the 100th and 7th time I fail, I'll ask for help. I mean, there's times I break out that especially at work. If I don't know something, I'll ask right away and stuff like that. But usually, I don't like asking for help. It's one of my bad things. One of my biggest fears, if I do ever end up paralyzed or something like that, and I have to rely on someone else, fuck that. I can't do it. Just being a burden for someone. I know they wouldn't feel that way, but it would end up that way. It's I can't do that. It's the Walter White way of going about it. It's nah.
Yeah.
If I ended up just in a wheelchair and I can't rely on myself, it's deuces. I'm out.
That's funny.
But yeah.
Wow. We are good at adapting, so maybe if you do get into that position.
There was also a study done on people were asked what's the worst thing that could happen to you, and being paralyzed or having something like that happen to you was the number one thing. But for people that happen to, 6 months is really rough. But their happiness kind of goes back to where it was. It's called a regression to the mean. So after a while, you're just going to go back to who you are. And that sort of goes back into people who are not happy with their lives now. I had a friend in high school, he wasn't happy. He's yeah, I'm just not, not that happy. But, once I get to college, I'll be happy. He's once he gets to college, he's oh yeah, this is great. Then a few months later, he's I'm not a fan of this college. I want to go to a different college. And he's just constantly going for something new. I'm yeah, there are situations where it's oh, once I get this, it's going to be good. But I think everyone, if you constantly are I need this to be happy, I need this, you're going to keep going down that road. If you're not happy now, I don't think you're going to be happy in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how I got to
You're chasing, at that point, you're just chasing a trail of that's misleading.
Yeah.
And
it's sort
based off of false assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah. Well, going back to that just kind of loops back around again to the reason why we need Stoic philosophy in the modern day school system, and for people to actually just learn it. And it should have always been there, but it has not been.
Yeah.
Can you imagine people being at least a decent, people at least having the, maybe not always acting on it, but at least having the ability to think rationally for a little while instead of just irrational monsters.
Man, irrationality's tough, man.
It's not. It really isn't that tough, though. It is tough. It's definitely tough, and you can't always maintain it, but you can't not. If you're a person, if you're a human being, you can't not have it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just people choose not to use it at all.
I think one thing that I've always been good at is perspective changing. You know, it's like, let's say I'm driving down the road and somebody cuts me off. I'm like, oh, that asshole. Why would you cut me off? But maybe that person's trying to get to the hospital. And I think a lot of times we take aspects of reality and we say that person is malicious. That person's doing that thing to hurt me. And a lot of stuff like that. And I don't think let's say you're, you know, I forgot who I was listening to, but he was talking about how we should love our partners as the love of kids. Because like when a kid's upset, you don't ask like, this kid's being upset because he's malicious and stuff like that. You think, why is he upset? Maybe he had a bad day. You know, maybe something's bothering him. Maybe he's hungry. But when an adult, somebody maybe at work or a manager or a friend is upset, they're like, well, or maybe they're treating you in a bad way. Maybe this person's just a very evil kid, or this is somebody who is, you know, malicious and wants to hurt me and wants me to feel this way and is angry because they're an angry person. That's who they are. This person's an angry person. This person's a very selfish person. But you don't ask, like, why are they acting this way? And I think that's often very hard to do. Like you see a mother in a store yelling at her kid. You know, you always see that all the time. Just somebody who's like, you know, yelling at their kid who's really young, like, stop it, you're making a scene, or whatever. Even though the mother saying stop it is making more of a scene. You know, you think, oh, that mother is somebody who's a bad mother. She's not patient. Well, maybe, you know, a family member died. Maybe she's usually not like that or something. But that's often, you know, harder to do, you know. But you could think that way, but yet a lot of times you don't want to, or you just don't even think about thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I've always thought about, like how many different ways can you look at the situation is one. You know, let's say you're at a lunch table and you look across this cafeteria and you see somebody, you know, dump a plate of spaghetti, a girl dump a plate of spaghetti over this guy's head. Then you start thinking, well, maybe she dumped the plate of spaghetti on his head because he just broke up with her. And then let's say you go talk to her, you're going to talk to her in a certain way, but let's say she did the same exact thing, but you think, oh, maybe she's just crazy. Maybe that guy's just in a crazy relationship and he wants out. You're going to talk to her differently if she comes up by you or if you see her in the hallway. And I think a lot of that is how do you sort of look at a situation. As well, it can affect how you perceive it and how it actually is.
Best way around that, best way to combat that is realizing that you can only control so much. You can't control other people. In that case, right? So
yeah, you can't control that situation happens and nothing you did about it, but the way you perceive the situation affects how you think about it.
If you perceive that things are like not everything is under your control, but you can control the things like certain things. That's a perception. That's something you can have in the back of your mind, especially like to up front.
Yeah.
You know. What was it? Somebody. Dang it! I read it in one of. I don't think it was Marcus Aurelius's like books.
Yeah.
But it was in his lifetime, or like one of the famous Stoics back then.
Yeah.
He said something and then he was struck on the jaw or whatever. Like they slapped him or they punched him or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And he's like he just kind of brushed it off and he's like he made a joke of it and that was it. But it was because he knew that one, like he can only control so much.
Yeah.
And like it's the Stoics' job to at least give the other person a view of why they were wrong. Like from a point of view of justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also wouldn't go about it that way. Like showing somebody's wrong automatically gives me the high ground, which I don't think I have. You know,
what do you mean?
Like let's say there's a situation where somebody's like let's say, you're out at a bar and there's this guy who's, it's a hard situation. Let's say somebody's in a bar and they're just being a dick and they're trying to like pick a fight or whatever.
Okay.
And let's say they insult you. Let's say they insult, something about you that you're insecure about or something like that. And you get upset about it and you go at them and say something to them that upsets them. And it's just this cycle of back and forth. It's sort of this tribalism. Like, you kill somebody in my group, I'm going to kill somebody in your group.
Right.
Well, I just killed somebody, I killed somebody in your group, you killed somebody in my group. I'm not going to let you kill somebody in my group, I'm going to kill somebody in your group. And it's this constant back and forth where it is you sort of have to turn the other cheek. Like, I'm not going to continue down this war of attrition of killing somebody and then killing somebody and then killing somebody, or, insulting you because you insulted me, I'm going to insult you. And this back and forth. There are times it's like, okay, I see where this is going. I see it can keep going down this road. So you insult me once, I see where it's going. If I insult you once, you're going to insult me, then I'm going to insult you. So henceforth, I'm not going to insult you because it's just going to keep going down this road of insulting. So the best thing to do is just not carry on with it. Now, that could be seen by others as, I'm not standing up for myself, or they could insult somebody else that I know, that I'm not standing up for that other person I know. Does that make me weak? Then that gets a little bit more complex than, do I throw one back to see what happens? Throw an insult at you, or a punch or something of that nature, whatever did happen. And then it just goes down that road. You're not a bigger man if you took, you won a fight, but, broke your jaw.
Yeah.
Everyone lost in that fight there.
Right.
But,
lost something.
Yeah. But I always think in like that strategic sense of like, is this, worth talking about? Like, is it worth, keep going down this road where it's better not to even start it? Or at least if it did start, just try to get out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I know Stoics especially, they were very like conscious of the way people felt. And like the way that they would communicate things that they viewed as wrong. So like in that situation, like if somebody was at a bar and they said something hurtful, or potentially hurtful to you, like the optimal response for them, like the first thought instead of getting like pissed would be like, this person is just mistaken. That's like the first thing.
Yeah.
Like, this person's mistaken, and then the second thing is I'm going to show them why they're mistaken. The third thing depends on how they react. So if they react negatively, which is more than likely, then you basically walk away, because you can't push an immovable object, right?
Yeah.
You can't make it move. So there's no point. But you should be okay with it, knowing that you at least tried. And that's what's important. And maybe they'll reflect on it when they cool down. That's what their like ideal thing is about that situation. It doesn't really always play out that way. Most of the time it's like you what?
Yeah. And another thing, I remember I was in high school and there was this one guy who I thought was just rude to me and they really didn't like me. Middle school, I thought this person was just rude. They didn't like me at all. Yeah. And then I ended up seeing them years later, and they were really nice and kind and stuff like that. And I think a lot of times what we do is somebody might try to say something, funny, or they might be joking around, but you take it as a serious offense. I think that happens a lot, that miscommunication of like, I don't mean this thing in the way, I was just saying a joke, or I said this thing not meaning this thing that you mistaken what I said for.
Right.
I think it's a big problem that we have. And a lot of times, someone might say something and be like, oh, this person's trying to hurt me by this statement, even though they don't even understand it, they weren't going for that. So I think that's always one you can get like sucked into. Like, this person saying this thing to hurt me, but maybe that person just saying something and they're not even, thinking of it in such a way that you're thinking about it. And I think that's a huge problem. And that just goes into language, you know. I could be trying to discuss a certain idea, but you might hear you might hear some word in such a way that makes you think of something else, and we're looking at it from two different perspectives. You're like, well, I'm trying to go this way, and you're going that way, and then you know, at first you really can't tell. It's like you're off like 1 degree,
right?
You know, on a ship. You're not going to notice it.
You're going to end up 2 different places after a while.
But you're not going to notice it. It's such a small change. You're not going to notice it whatsoever. But then later down, it's like, how did we end up here? These completely far things. We were all good. All this one small deviation in understanding changed that whole thing.
Yeah. And it's like that. What's that called? Like jumping to conclusions just because of the lack of, or the sheer amount of information. Like you can't possibly process all of that, so you have to like make quick decisions and toss things out. Have
you ever seen Office Space?
I don't know if I have.
Okay, I love that movie. If you watch The Big Lebowski, Fight Club, Office Space, that's like one of my like main ideologies. Like you take like, you know, I might grab them all of them together. But in Office Space, there's this guy who ended up like getting in a car accident. They're at his party. He's like, yeah, I thought about making this mat, and it has conclusions on it. And you jump around. You jump to conclusions. And the main guy's like, that's a great idea. Yeah. He's like, you get it? It's a mat where you jump to conclusions. He just loves it. So when he said that, I just pictured that scene like pop up in my mind. Yes.
Oh yes, good memories.
Yeah. But I definitely agree with that. I think there is, because I mean there's so much information. I was talking to somebody at work, and he was like, there's a phenomenon. I think it's like I forgot the name of it, but it's basically the idea that like, let's say you get a new car. You know, you start seeing that car everywhere. Or you get, you know, a new pair of shoes. You start knowing that pair of shoes everywhere. Or you get like a smartwatch. You start noticing it. That everywhere. It's sort of like there's so much information out in the world. We can't gather it all. So we break it off into parts that we know and stuff like that. And I think that's a big thing, because there is so much information out there. Like, why did we like be interested in philosophy? There's so much else out there. Why didn't we get interested in the history of rap music, or interested in, you know, sneakers, or, you know, collecting guitars or something like that? Like, why this one topic? That already makes us biased into thinking, you know, philosophically, which we could argue that everything is philosophical, but then to the man with the music is like, yeah, well, music's, you know, life, man, you know, so.
You can argue a lot.
Yeah.
I remember, it's kind of funny, like, I never thought that my favorite person in history, if you can't tell, it's Marcus Aurelius. Like he's my favorite person.
Yeah,
but
does he have the same name?
Well, funny actually.
Is this just an ego thing?
No. Hang on.
This is an ego thing.
Could be.
Yeah. My favorite person has the same name as me. What are the odds?
100%. That's what the odds are. No, but like when my birth certificate. I was born in Janesville, and at the Janesville Hospital, my parents got me this thing, and it had all kinds of different like stuff on it. So pertaining to my birthday, so it had movie stars' birthdays. It had like you know, it had like a whole list, and then it had my name on a section. Well, Marcus.
Yeah.
And it went through like several different things of what that name meant.
Yeah.
And one of the things that it meant was I think I was looking through it, and it was like in Greek or Roman, it meant this.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then later in my life, I saw the movie Gladiator,
Fantastic
Dude,
movie.
freaking awesome
Dude,
movie.
oh,
So awesome.
good.
And
So good.
so good, dude. I want to watch that now. Anyways, I digress. So,
Such a good movie. I love that movie.
it's a good
The
movie.
fighting's amazing. The acting, it's so good. That opening scene,
Epic.
So
Yeah.
good. So good.
Yeah. But my stepfather used to he used to, I don't know if he was like poking fun at me, but he would like every time Marcus Aurelius came on, he was like, Marcus. Like it was always me. I was like, but like it kind of grew on me, and I was like, who is this person?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to like figure out that he was actually an incredible human being.
Yeah.
Like the last good emperor. Like who earns a name like that?
Yeah.
Like that takes a lot.
Well, I'm okay with Roman history. What time was that? Before the what time period was that? Was that before Pax Romanus, or was that after?
I don't know.
So
I don't know. I know Commodus came right after him, but I don't know like the specific time periods though.
okay, there was another leader. I can't think of his name, but they ended up making him like this emperor dictator during war times. And it happened twice. And like once the war was over, he gave up his power and went back on his farm. I can't think of his name though.
I do know who you're talking about though. He didn't even want to be the emperor.
Yeah.
He was just like, no, we just want to farm.
Yeah.
And they're like, no,
he
please.
He was fantastic. He's like, all right, I'll do it because I know this is the best thing for everybody.
Yes.
Gosh. Does it start with an H?
I don't know. I don't know who it was, but I know who you're talking about because I remember the story. I remember hearing about it.
Yeah.
Not many men like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not many. It's unfortunate.
And there was another emperor during Hannibal's time when Hannibal attacked. Hannibal was just like kicking everybody's ass. Like he was doing amazing. He ended up going across the Alps. I think he lost all of his elephants, but he ended up taking some small groups as well in Rome and added them to his party. But he was winning every battle. So the people at the time, the one guy who was basically in charge, is like, we're not going to attack them. We're just going to like keep moving and stuff like that. And he ended up getting an army, and they ended up attacking Carthage, where they were. Hannibal was from. But his big thing is he's like, we're not going to attack. We're just going to avoid as much as possible. And what Hannibal did is he started burning everybody's fields, but he didn't burn the fields that belonged to the emperor. And he said, the emperor is actually on my side, and he wants, he basically created this conspiracy theory. And everyone started looking at the emperor like, why is he not burning your land and stuff? But he like held strong. But that was another interesting guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
A lot of crazy.
I just want to watch Gladiator now.
Yeah, dude,
That's
same.
so good.
It's such a good movie.
Oh,
Completely inaccurate, but dude, it's freaking awesome.
It really is. It really is. But that's such a good one.
Yeah.
And where he's like taking off his like mask in front of him.
Yeah.
Show me your face, Gladiator. But it's so good.
Yep.
So good.
Definitely cool.
So good.
He should have stabbed him with the little arrowhead he had and killed him.
Oh,
Could have been over right then and there.
classic movie.
But yeah.
I think that's Russell Crowe's best movie. I love him in A Beautiful Mind as well. Created out by John Nash and stuff like that with Game Theory, which I'm a huge fan of, Nash Equilibrium. So just from a nerd standpoint, I love that movie, which is still a great movie. Even the guy it's based off of is really cool, but I think that's my favorite one from him. There's probably others I really like, but that's probably like the main one, which is a classic one. But yeah. Anyone else you find interesting in history?
Anybody else? I like Epictetus.
Epictetus.
Yeah, Epictetus, however you want to call him. He was actually renowned as the best, like the greatest Stoic.
Epictetus. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was once asleep. I don't remember if he was or if it was somebody else. He was like very well renowned though. Like you can get his one of his books, his discourses.
Okay.
Definitely read that, dude. It is like it's mind blowing how simple he makes things.
I probably do know a bit about him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just not coming to mind right now.
It's free book.
There's a lot of good free books out there. One that I love, I don't think I have it here, but it's Machiavelli.
Machiavelli?
Yeah, by Machiavelli. The Prince, which is basically about how to be like a leader that stays in power and stuff like that, and how you don't get overthrown. It's only like 130 some pages. Not that big, but it's fantastic. It is fantastic.
So yeah. How do you reckon? What's the best way to rule?
Oh man, that's so complex. That I don't even think I have enough energy to even begin to like talk about that.
We can talk about that next time.
Yeah. I don't even have enough energy to like begin.
Yeah, dude.
Going through.
Let's write that for next time. Let's write that down.
Definitely do that one for next time.
Yeah. What does it take to rule?
Oh, here's a good one.
Quotes.
Education is the art of making man ethical.
Ethics.
Human history is a court of judgment.
That's fair. Yeah.
When the past no longer illuminates the future, the spirit walks in darkness. So I had like another one of these like completely full.
Mm-hmm.
My mom threw it away. Now I have tons, like most of those are filled up with stuff. A few of those yellow ones aren't because I'm working on them, but most of that stuff is filled up. Like I have tons of stuff just like filled up, and there's a few of them I've like lost, and I'm so upset. It's like dang it, because I wish I had a better memory. I wish I had a better memory where I could just remember.
Yeah,
so much more. Like, there's a lot I have memorized, especially like quotes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much I don't, and it like upsets me. It's like I wish I had a better memory. But I think my memory's good, but yeah, there's so much. Oh, any quotes you like?
Any quotes I like?
Yeah.
I'll let you know if I think of one. In between now and then. Now and you may be finding one is what I mean.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Who haven't we talked about yet?
A negative judgment gives you more satisfaction than praise. Provided it's smashed with jealousy. Let's see if there's any other interesting ones. Like dreams, statistics are a form of wish fulfillment. We live in a world where there is more and more information and less meaning.
Going on that, I actually do have. I don't. It's not really much of a quote, but it's an idea.
Okay.
And it's the idea that what you. It's a lot like diet. If you look at your life as basically like diet, in terms of what you put in your mind and what you learn.
Listen, we are two healthy individuals.
Gotta stay awake somehow.
I definitely do not have a pizza sitting over there. I definitely do not have like 12 bags of chips. 3 of them are Marcus's, by the way. All right, blame
4.
him.
I got 4.
Me and my friend ate a whole bag.
There were 4. Used to be.
Yeah, we watched that, and then we ended up watching Missing 411, which are like a ton of missing cases, like in national parks and stuff like that. But never mind. Carry on with your idea. Carry on. I just
Man, the chips got you.
The chips got me. All right, carry on.
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, diet. That's right. We're talking about diet.
That's right.
So there's like physical diet.
Yeah.
Like so empty calories. Social media can be a form of empty calorie.
You heard it here first. Wise words.
I'm pretty sure you've heard it elsewhere, and if you haven't heard it elsewhere, that's pretty sad. But at least you heard it from me.
You heard it from Marcus. That's a sad piece of shit. If you haven't heard that yet, he's sad.
No, but seriously though, that was one of the biggest things that like hit me when I think I was like maybe 19, 20 at the time, and I read that, or I heard it, I read it. They were like, if you really think about it, like you are what you eat, and what you consume is what you become, basically. So if you're always on that, like how long do you just sit there doing that? Like on Facebook, you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and what do you know? Like 3 hours passes, right?
Yeah.
And then what? You didn't use that 3 hours productively.
Oh yeah.
Like that part of your life was just wasted because you're not gonna get that back. That's for sure.
Dude, never.
Do you know?
Never look up videos of like the average life, like how much of your life you spend sleeping, how much of your life you spend at work. When you actually boil it down to the actual free time you have in your life to do what you want, it's so little.
Well, that's why you should watch those. I'm gonna go home and watch those. I'm not kidding. Like,
dude, it makes you so depressed because like you work so much, you sleep so much, and it's like you have such little time to do what you want to do, and then there's chores on top of that. You have to cut the grass, you have to do this, you have to eat. Eating's good, eating's great, you can eat great food, that's a pleasure. But with how little time you actually have to do what you want is so small to what people actually think. Because like half your life you sleep. Maybe a bit less depending on how much, you do.
In my case.
Yeah, same. Like now I don't sleep that much. But, on the average. But it's like so much of your life. And then when you're a kid, you really, you can have fun and stuff like that. But when you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like, those years don't matter. I mean, they do, but you're not doing everything you love. And then once you actually like get old enough to do everything you want, you have to work. And then let's say you have kids, you have to do stuff for them and stuff like that. And it's like, oh my goodness, you have like no time to yourself. It's like, it made me so depressed. Like I went down a wormhole of just like how much time you spend doing this stuff. It's like, oh my God.
Dude, I need a swift kick in the pants with that. Like I seriously do.
Yeah.
I need that in my life. You guys might need that in your life too.
Let's see. Keep talking as I look for something interesting.
Yeah. I think that it's good that you pursue something other than a 9 to 5.
I have no profit. My job is making windows where there were once walls. I think that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not always about the money either.
Yeah.
There's a point where that's important, but it's not your whole life. Despite what some people might say.
People know what they do. Frequently, they know why they do what they do. But what they don't know is what they do does. God, take off the shades, please. Yeah.
Everybody should really be like a well-rounded person.
Oh yeah.
Going back to like the being very like specific about things. One of my favorite authors and I guess psychologists, so psychiatrists is I just had his name.
Steven Pinker?
No.
Paul Bloom?
No. Jordan Peterson. The reason I like him is because he has a very like dark outlook, and that attracts me for some reason. I get that.
I have a love-hate relationship with.
Hey, I do too. I don't agree with everything he says, but I agree with a majority of what he says. And one of the things that I just don't like is the whole like being very, very expert at something, like being an expert and like at the top of your field.
Yeah.
At something. You have to commit so much energy, like literally everything. I remember him saying in a video, literally, he's like, if you guys want to become experts, that's fine. But you have to realize that you're giving up like all these other things in life.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have to constantly be like focused 100% on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which sucks because you can't be well-rounded if you do that.
Yeah.
You can only be like lopsided.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that's just me. I think it's good to be like well-rounded. Especially if you're going to be a leader and you're going to be like just somebody who's going to take responsibility for things, which he preaches a lot.
Yeah.
Regina, do you have a quote? You can go for it anytime.
Oh, no, I'm just looking through. I'm just. A wise man never loses anything if he has himself.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a fair fact.
The value of life lies not in the length of days, but in the use we make the use we make of them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even read my own handwriting. Jesus.
Same.
Whether you find satisfaction in life depends not on your tales of years, but on your will. Okay.
It's also another interesting thing.
Wise people are foolish if they cannot adapt to foolish people.
That's fair. And frustrating.
It is easier to fool people than it is to convince people that they have been fooled.
Than to convince people that they have been fooled? Or that they... Say that again?
It is easier to fool people than it is to convince people they have been fooled.
Ah, yes.
Oh, this is one I like. When a metric becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. I am not what I think I am, and I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. Does that make sense? I know it took me a few times of like reading that through to actually make sense, but.
What was Einstein's quote? If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to live its whole life thinking it's stupid.
Oh, yeah.
I like that one.
It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own self-interest. Oh, this is one I like. This goes with media. Travel and tell no one. Live a true love story and tell no one. Live happily and tell no one. People ruin beautiful things.
Mm-hmm.
There's another good one. The lust for comfort murders the passion of the soul.
That's very true. Hugely true.
Mm-hmm. I have learned silence from the talkative, tolerance from the intolerant, and kindness from the unkind. Yet, strange, I am ungrateful to these teachers. Yeah.
Also facts.
I like, I think it's Kierkegaard who's very like pessimistic and stuff like that. But he's got some good stuff. But yeah, I have another one somewhere. But yeah.
Yeah.
You want to end it there?
I think so. I think it'd be a fair spot to end it, and we can pick back up when whenever we decide it's a good time.
Yeah. Well, this was definitely fun. We covered quite a bit.
Yes, we did.
I feel like it was still, we went everywhere.
We did once again.
yeah. But I really want to see The Gladiator now. It's such a good movie. Troy's another really good one.
Troy is a good movie, yeah.
I like Troy.
Yeah.
Braveheart is good.
Braveheart's also good.
I definitely like that. But yeah, I don't know. Ooh, I really like Troy. I think they're very different movies from like Gladiator, but Troy is really good.
Yes.
I like the fighting in Troy. Like those fight scenes are really good. Gladiator's got good fight scenes, but Troy's more stylized. Even though Troy's newer. When did Troy come out? 2006.
Maybe somewhere around there.
Where Gladiator was 1999. There were a lot of great movies when Gladiator came out. I know that. Like it was like one of the years. Like oh my goodness, there were so many great movies that came out that year. But yeah. This was second talk with Marcus. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. But yeah. All right, we're done. Let's turn off those cameras.
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.